11. Falling in love again. A few hours of sleep seemed to have done the trick. I woke up with enough energy to face Gwen and what I expected to be some latent anger. Hi babes, it's me. Who? Gwen, please, it's me, Eric. So how come you calling me now? Because I told you that I will call you when I return from Dayton, and I just did. Oh, you just did, right? Really, this was not going well. The sarcasm in her voice was so overwhelming that I decided to try to change the tone. Babes, it was not a good trip. It wasn't any better here, was the terse response. Listen, Gwen, just speak with my dad. He will tell you what happened. Never mind. Have a good night. Whatever you said your name was. And she hung up. To say that did not go well is an understatement. I thought Dad said that I would always have her by my side. Well, this time he may have been dead wrong, with serious ramifications. This was a deeply flawed state of affairs. Our relationship was in tatters. I tried to share my misery with Dad, but it was not that he didn't care. His attitude was more like, it is your relationship, not mine. Well, I still had to attend to my classes. 2 research papers were due, which I could have completed had I remained in Oxford. It seemed to me that there was a lot of blame to share. Dad for encouraging me to meet some of my blood relatives, my little cousin Robbie for forcing me to stay overnight, and that ghastly church service that was more catering to Aunt Melba's ego than to my own sanity. But wait, hadn't I learned the hard lesson that the blame game does not advance your cause? The blame game had not prevented me from becoming homeless for a week in the beginning of this term. No, I had, with the help of God, risen to a higher altitude than that. By Tuesday after Thanksgiving weekend, I was surprised to find Gwen in Dad's office. She had gone there to advise Dad that we were true as a couple. She started by complaining that I was not truthful in our relationship. I lied when it was convenient. My dad is a very patient and understanding person. He knows that people genuinely make mistakes about what they hear and see. After probing why she thought that Eric had returned to Oxford on Friday, Gwen answered that both she and her mother had seen Dad in the Kroger supermarket in Tollgate Shopping Mall on Friday. Well, she asked for it and had to sit quietly while Dad detailed the drama of his departure alone from Dayton and also his return on Saturday night. He most certainly told her about the church service and our surreptitious departure without saying goodbye to anyone. I am not sure whether he told her the deep reason why the presence of the pastor had unsettled me. Somewhere in the middle of this story, I came into his office, just in time to find him giving a tissue to Gwen as she was sobbing. I really cannot explain it, but just the sight of my babes crying got me very agitated. What did you tell her, Dad, to upset her like that? I started to yell with a heightened tone in my voice. I wasn't sure why Gwen was waving her hand at me. I instinctively caught her hand and pulled her out of the chair and closer to me. Just then, Dad chimed in. Look, you two, just go take a walk outside. It is cold enough to calm down your brain. And if you return in time when I'm going home, I will offer you a ride. We left his office holding hands and started to walk towards the old stone bridge that had become a landmark for the old Western College for Women before it became part of the Miami University campus. The stone bridge near the Mary Lyon Dome is a photo opportunity, especially during late fall, with the famous Cumberland's Chapel in the background. It is the correct setting when you would wish for some intimacy with your dating partner. As we were walking slowly together, hand in hand, I tried to break the silence by saying how sorry I had been to see her hurt like this. Within the mumbling, I thought I heard her say something, but I wasn't sure. What did you say? I said, kiss me. Here? Right now? Yes, and as passionate as we did in the cinema on our first real date. I didn't even take a moment to scan the surrounding to see who else may have been walking on the bridge. We got into a passionate tongue-sucking kiss that lasted, oh, I don't know how long. When I broke off to get some fresh air, we just stood together with our foreheads gently touching each other as if we were conducting a Bluetooth transfer of emotions. I started to tear up, saying, Gwen, I love you so much. I love you too. Then, in a flash, her realism reappeared just like that. We better get back so I can get a ride with your dad. Ah, don't worry, he'll wait. He must be dying to know how this is turning out. Dad was on his way to the parking lot, so we gladly joined him, showing off our togetherness again by holding hands as we strolled towards him. As we drove through the town on our way to our apartment, I noticed that he had missed the turnoff for Gwen's home. Dad, don't forget we have to drop Gwen home. We? I would rather like to think that it is you who have to drop Gwen home. I'm driving myself to my home. I glanced back at Gwen in the back seat to signal that he was back into his normal self. She smiled as if in total agreement. After dropping Dad home, I took the car and proceeded to Gwen's home. Gwen's greetings to her mom started another exchange that was inevitable. But this time, I was better prepared, mentally and physically. You better come in now and apologize to the big lady of the house. Mom, I'm back. And guess who is here to say hello to you? Which rock did you come out from this time? Although the words sounded a bit unfriendly, her demeanor showed no signs of hostility. I read it as saying, thank God he's back. Good evening, Mrs. Peters. I'm so sorry I missed your sumptuous Thanksgiving dinner, but I do hope you will invite me to help finish off the leftovers. Well, there isn't much leftovers to speak about. I saved a piece of my apple pie if you would like a taste. Mothers always want to feed the suitors of their daughters. I don't know if they are testing to see whether the man enjoys good food so as to give their daughter an advantage in his favor. Of course, Mom. You know how I love that. Ben was full of smiles as we appreciated how the parentos were all falling back in line. After a few minutes, she reemerged. Here you are. Excuse the wrapping. I couldn't find anything better. Oh, never mind that, Mom. I'll probably eat half of it before I even get back home. Just then my phone rang. I recognized the area code of the call, 947. That is the code for Dayton, but it also covers Springfield and southwestern Ohio north and east of Cincinnati metropolitan area. This was the third or fourth time that this person had tried to contact me, but I was not interested in any unrecognized call coming from the Dayton area. That evening at home, I received yet another call, but this time, the call ID was Robbie, my little cousin. I was bracing to explain my mysterious departure, which must have reflected a high level of poor manners. In answering, Robbie started to express thanks for me spending so much time with him. He wanted to make sure that we kept in contact. I asked him how Aunt Melba had taken my sudden disappearance, which must have looked like a surge of bad manners. Oh, she was furious, but he assured me that she would soon get over that event. After all, she had been boasting all week of her sister's son, who was graduating from Miami University, top of his class. What? Whoever told her that? Bobby reminded me that Melba just liked the big up things. Anyway, that was not the reason for his call. He had a friend by the name of Michael Coghill who was trying to contact me. Michael is a freshman at Oberlin College. He was there on a track and field scholarship and was representing the team in sprint and mid-distance. He needed to speak to me, seeing that I did track and field sports at Miami. And right now, he is in some trouble and has been benched by the coach. He relayed the fact that Michael had been trying to call me, but I wasn't picking up. The next day, I received the expected call from Michael. His introductory discourse was all over the place. He missed meeting me at a church service. He was back at Oberlin now. His suspension from the team was seriously affecting his studies. He was actually seeing a psychiatrist. He desperately needed my help. He sounded quite enthusiastic about visiting Oxford that very weekend and wanted to know if he could stay over. I can sleep on your couch. Sounded like a regular young man with no fuss about his accommodation. But his mental and physical problems sounded like he should be going somewhere else for help. Anyway, I conferred with Dad that it was okay, and just like that, I was expecting Michael on a late Greyhound bus coming into Oxford within 24 hours, around 10:35 p.m. Thursday night. Alerting Gwen to this new development, I confessed to her that I had no idea what this guy wanted to talk to me about. We both agreed that I would pick her up late on Thursday from her lab, and on the way home we would stop and pick him up at the bus station. You could tell that Gwen was anxious to see who this person was. As we drove into the bus station, there were some students standing on the sidewalk waiting for a ride. Of course, Michael was the only black student on the curb. It's Oxford, you will expect that. As I drove up, Gwen rolled down the window, not before commenting, "He looks hot." Michael was almost as tall as I am, but you can still see his mother's features on his youthful face. He bent down and inquired, "Eric?" "Yes, get on it." As he swiftly jumped into the back seat, I introduced myself. "I'm Eric, and this is my fiancée, Gwendolyn." I knew Gwen would have liked that introduction, but since she thought him to be hot, I just thought I should name and claim mine before any confusion got in the way. "Pleased to meet you, Gwen. Man, I'm so glad you guys came on time. The bus got in 10 minutes ago, and I was freezing my butt off looking at every car that passed by. Oxford is colder than Oberlin, man." "Well, Michael, we are going to drop Gwen home and then proceed to my place." And so we did. As I turned into the gate of my community, I got the usual response from everyone that I have brought home. "You live in a gated community?" Actually, I live with my dad. As we entered the apartment, I could sense his pleasure at being in a warm space. The weather had really dipped that evening to a low 10 degrees Celsius. That was really cold for Oxford at this time. Dad was asleep, so I told him we could sit in the dining room and talk, or if he preferred, to do so in the morning. "No, bro, you don't understand how anxious I am to talk with you, but I think I would like to take a warm shower first." That was easy to arrange. In fact, we had all the amenities neatly laid out on the sofa for him. "I'll make you a sandwich. Cheese and tomato?" "You could hold off on the tomato." "Okay, I will do you one better. I will make it a grilled cheese sandwich. How about that? Hitting the spot, big brother." Michael wanted a beer to go with that. Like most black youth, you have to force them to drink tea, coffee, or even some healthy drink. Although I was surprised that an athlete like him, and you could see the guy was built like an athlete, want to risk growing a bare belly. After his shower, he just had this gleeful look in his face. Eric, you don't know how happy I am to be here. I see you as the big brother I have always dreamt of. Well, before we go too far into the fraternal talk, just start by telling me, who is Michael Coghill?